Initiating download. Podcast download complete. It's the Super Power Podcast.
Dia Direct, the Fly and Fab go-to girlfriend, is all about bringing you interviews
With celebrities.
information,
And her super friends.
and inspiration that take your life to the next level.
Dia Direct gets real.
She doesn't just interview, she goes in. Dia Direct makes a difference.
With super power.
I'm Dia Direct. I am here with the newly elected mayor of Atlanta. We are experiencing Black Girl Magic at its best. We are in the midst of Black Panther Girl Power, moving things to the next level like we never have before for Ebony Magazine. Madam Mayor, congratulations.
Thank you so very much.
Talk to me about what your win means to you.
It is just a testament to what's possible when you trust God and you walk in your calling. And for me, it really was about overcoming fears and overcoming the narrative and parameters that other people tried to place upon me. And just knowing that that really God placed in my heart to do something much bigger than I ever thought I would do for myself. And once I embraced it and then I put the work in, I sit here today as the 60th mayor of Atlanta.
You said something really important, which is you talked about God and what was inside of you. The ideal for anyone is to fulfill purpose. It's one thing to get the calling. It's another thing to answer it. Can you give me a sense of what that story and journey looked like from the moment where you said, I need to do this? Why do I need to do this? And then you said, okay, I'm going to do this.
It really is it's a chapter book, and it started in 2008. I was a part-time magistrate judge, and I knew that it was time for me to either move up or out. So I challenged an incumbent for his seat on the Superior Court bench. It didn't make sense to anybody, but I prayed about it, and I knew that God's answer to me was to run. And my prayer was, God, if it be your will, I win, and if not, show me what else you have in store. I lost that race. I almost won, and it really was, again, this fearlessness, because I didn't have sense enough to know that I shouldn't challenge an established incumbent. And I remember after that race sitting on the floor, in the middle of my floor, cross-legged, and going, okay, God, I did it. Now what? And a year later, the person who represented my city council district the week of qualifying retired after 32 years. And I remember thinking, what would you do if you weren't afraid to fail? And during the course of the race for the judgeship, I had gone all across the county, had gone into different communities, and I was struck by what you got when your community had a voice. And I said the only thing stopping me is I didn't want to be embarrassed, didn't want to fail again. I ran. There were 9 people in that race, and I won without a runoff. And almost immediately after joining city council, people started planting a seed about my running for mayor. But that was not what I had in my mind, and nothing I thought about, and nothing I was even interested in doing. So it really became this process of, why would people think that I could be mayor? And then, do I want to be mayor? And then, okay, Lord, confirm for me that I should do it. And in November of 2015, I kept praying. I prayed every single day, and I prayed all through the summer, and I kept going, Lord, I need an answer, because people were getting in the race. And I was sitting in church, and the sermon that day gave me my confirmation. And I was so overwhelmed by the confirmation that I should run that I couldn't even leave my seat after church was over. And it's the reason that in the course of this very nasty, long campaign, I didn't waver, because I knew that I was doing what I was supposed to do. And even during the course of the campaign, it was, okay, Lord, I want to win, but if it's not your will, then so let it be. And the night of the election, the runoff, was the first time that I really thought that I might not win. And on the screen flashed up, we were 50-50. There were 3 precincts still out. And I just dropped to my knees. And I just began to pray, and I said, Lord, please don't let me get this close and not win. Like, please don't do that to me. And, the rest is history.
Expressing faith is not new to African Americans. And yet, if you look at it from a party perspective, traditionally, as of late, you only hear it really from Republicans, whether it manifests itself that way or not. So you've talked about your relationship with the Lord very clearly and openly and authentically. So how has that played itself out? And when you say you got a confirmation, and I'm asking this question not just for your story, but because so many people from a spiritual perspective are looking for the confirmation to know that they're going in the right direction. How did you get your confirmation and know you're going in the right direction and then feel confident about owning it from a spiritual perspective?
I think that God speaks to us all day, every day. I think really it's a matter of us listening. Mm-hmm. And I'm not, I'm not this perfect saint by far, nowhere close. And I'm not a holy roller, if you will. But I'm very grateful that when I've listened, I've always walked in what God has placed before me confidently. And I really think a lot of that just goes back to generational prayers. My grandmother was a woman of extreme faith. So I can't take the credit. I think I'm the beneficiary of a lot of prayer and a lot of work that was done by other folk before me. That being said, it is such a part of me that I can't not talk about it. And what I believe is, along with faith, we have to put the work in. And so it really extends beyond what my faith is, but how do I show that faith and how I work and what I believe? And there are things that, I'm the beneficiary of, even in terms of the financial stability of our city. And a lot of that is in great part and great credit to my predecessor, Cassine Reed, who really focused on righting the ship financially for the city. So I now have the ability to give a community focus in a way that over the past 8 years we didn't have the luxury of doing. So a huge part of it is faith, but that's only the beginning. Now it's about the work and how does that translate and how does that permeate to our communities.
Faith without works is dead. And so in terms of work and in terms of agenda, what are the key things that are closest to your heart and that will make you feel like you've been successful as a mayor?
It's interesting you ask that because that's something that I am working on really crystallizing for other people, because it's one thing to campaign and to speak in campaign terms, but now it's what's the tangible deliverables. Mm-hmm. And where I am today, not 2 months in, is that by the end of 4 years, I want to make sure that Atlanta is a place that everybody at least has a chance to succeed. Mm. And I have a whole team around me helping crystallize what that looks like in a tangible way. I know education is a huge part of it. Job opportunity is a huge part of it. Getting rid of food deserts in our community is a huge part of it. Making sure Atlanta is affordable for everyone is a huge part of it. And also continuing to be a good financial steward and a good partner with our business community. Crime is a huge part of it. So now, now we're working out the details of how do we measure success And I'm very fortunate in that my transition team's comprised of 38 amazing people. They are all talented and leaders in their own right. I have the CEO of UPS. I have the CEO of Delta Airlines sitting next to Killer Mike and T.I. And it's led by a woman, Vicky Palmer, who is a former executive with Coca-Cola Enterprises, and Larry Gellerstedt, CEO of Cousins Enterprises. So they're people who are really invested in my success and also invested in the success of our city and our communities. And, what I would say in a nutshell is what I want to make sure is that as these opportunities are available to our adults, shame on you if you don't take advantage of it. And for our children, if we have to deliver it to your doorstep and feed it to you and make it available to you so you have a chance to succeed, that's what we need to do. But we're working on the details. That's the biggest challenge because a lot of people talk, but now it's time to do and it's time to deliver.
You talked about people like T.I. all the way to executives. And that kind of speaks to the vastness of the kind of people that you've impacted. And when you won, there was a hashtag that said, a black girl named Keisha is mayor of Atlanta. And that was one hashtag. Another hashtag was Black Girl Magic. And there was this national pride about you and what you represent from people all over the country who, as yourself, went to HBCUs, who were black women and black men even. Just proud without clear explanation, maybe even kind of like Black Panther. There was the same sense of pride. How did that make you feel?
It is an incredible feeling, and I think that a lot of it really has to do with the highs and lows of where we have been as a people and as a culture. So coming off of this incredible high with the Obamas in the White House, and then feeling the lowest of the low with where we are with national representation. And when we look at Atlanta and we saw the dynamic, and it was a racially charged election in Atlanta. And I think that it really gave people a rallying cry. And thankfully, I was qualified to do the job, so it wasn't a tall sell in that regard. But it is just, it's humbling. And I realize it's just an enormous responsibility. And I just caution people, remember that I'm human, and don't put faith in me, and don't put faith in what I will deliver. It's really about what we can all deliver and what we can do for ourselves and what we can achieve for our communities. And I think in so many ways, that's what the Obamas left with us, that we have the power. That it's really about us understanding how we use it and how we maximize it for the benefit of everyone around us.
You mentioned the Obamas. Do you know them? Have you met them? Have you heard from them?
I've met President Obama twice, and I've been in the presence of Michelle Obama, but no, I don't have a personal relationship with them. But like so many people, I really admire their sacrifice for our country. And really to work with integrity for the greater good, and to be able to walk out of the White House with their heads held high about all they had done. And, I think really for me, I just want to make sure that the generations are empowered so that if, God forbid, something happened to me tomorrow, I've left something tangible with our communities that people can build upon, and that can't be taken away from us. And for me personally, that's education. And although in Atlanta we don't have direct oversight over our schools, I know what education does for a community. I know how it changes generations. And so much of it is about being a good partner in that space. And not just as it relates to our kids, but as it relates to vocational education for our communities, so that with all of these jobs that are coming on board in Atlanta, that we have a trained workforce for people to be able to maximize these opportunities. And it's so much work to be done, but it's doable, and it starts today.
There are a lot of successful Black women who are really leading, a lot of leading ladies nationally. And you're not only a leader, but you're also a woman of faith and a woman who is committed to family. Can you talk to me about the importance of that balance of work and still being able to maintain your social life? I don't know how much of that you get to do now as mayor, and family along with your vocation of choice, and in this case, leadership.
Well, for me, I'm really struggling in that space as it relates to balance, but it's interesting. The last, since I was sworn in January 2nd, I feel I've come as close to achieving it as I have in quite some time, because I'm getting settled into the new normal, and so is my family. And it really does take a village. I'm so very fortunate to have a very close-knit family. My mother lives less than 5 minutes away, so she's at my house every morning at 6:30. She fixes a full breakfast for my kids, helps them get off to school, and she's there when they get home every day. And I have an incredibly supportive husband who is, he's my rock. And so many close friends that just pitch in and help. And so now it's really about balancing it out for me, learning to turn off, learning to stop working when I get home. I'm running again. I hadn't run in 6 months. And it's interesting, just the toll of the campaign. I've had a breakout on my face like I hadn't seen since I was 14. And I put on weight during the campaign, and all these things that associated with just this extreme level of stress. So for my personal health and sanity, and really for my family, just trying to right that ship. And this will be new because we've not lived and existed in this space, but it's much more comfortable, much sooner than I anticipated it would be.
Women's Month is a celebration of women power, all that we do, and there's this whole sense of some women being independent, the whole superwoman complex. And personally, I'm not sure if that served us fully, but I'd be interested in your perspective of, in the middle of celebrating all that we have accomplished and continue to accomplish as women, what do you say to the notion of being a superwoman? And you kind of alluded to it, because you still need help. But so many of us don't even know how to ask for help. And because so many of us feel like either we feel like or we've taken on the role of superwoman, people don't even know how to deal with us when we're not that person. How do you, and now that you're in the highest level of leadership that you've been in publicly, at least, is it okay to need help? For the person who looks at you, they know where they are. They look at you and they think you have it all together and you're doing it all. And that makes them internalize and feel like, well, I should be able to do everything. You say what?
That the Instagram life is just that. It's the Instagram life. And then there's reality. And what I look at women all day, every day who do it alone, and they do it without the help that I have, and they do it without any accolades. And I also see women around me who are doing it all, and it's at the expense of their health and sometimes their lives. And we all know what our limits are, and we all have our personal signals as to what our limits are. And so for me, it's about, but I have to remember that at the end of the day, the most important job I will ever have is to be mother to my 4 children. Mm-hmm. And so there is a limit. There's a point that I have to stop, if not for myself, for them. And I would just say to women, it's okay to push, but you also have to stop and take care of yourself. Because if you're not good to yourself, you're not going to be good to anybody else. And you're not good to anybody else if you aren't alive. And I am of the age now that I'm seeing so many women struggling with real health challenges, with breast cancer and heart disease and diabetes and things that are taking them away from their families. And as important, sometimes that S on the chest gets a little crooked. And when it does, you need to take it down and straighten it out. Because you got to be good to yourself if you're going to be good to the rest of the world.
That's good. We're in a political climate. There's the concept of soft power. There's the concept of hard power. And we're in the balance in this country right now. How would you describe your leadership style?
My leadership style is probably if I'm talking about it in terms of soft power, hard power, I have a more gentle, deliberate approach. It's a softer, more deliberate approach because I find that's what works best for me. And I know how to push when I need to push, and I know how to pull back when I need to pull back. But I think that it really, for me, I find the most success with collaboration, and that's probably by virtue of the arena that I operate in, that you won't get much done in government if you don't have the ability to collaborate with folk. And over the past month or so, what has really struck me, I have been over at our state capitol, which is led by primarily white Republican men. I've probably built more solid relationships there over the course of just 45 days or so on matters that are important to the city than I have in some aspects in certain areas of our communities. Politics makes strange bedfellows, but for me, it highlights collaboration. Because what I found in spending time at the state capitol is what's good for the state is good for Atlanta, and what's good for Atlanta is good for the state. And if we don't collaborate in this climate, especially this national climate, then we'll be at a complete standstill like we're seeing in Washington right now.
But do you find that there's a certain approach that has been most effective for you, and that you're making deals and building alliances with these strange bedfellows?
I think the approach really has been not coming in with a chip on my shoulder, and not coming and vice versa, them not coming to me with a chip on their shoulder.
So people aren't defensive.
Exactly. And that's not, let me be clear. I'm not saying that as if another black woman would, or another white man or a white man would, but it's just the way that we've operated with each other. And again, this has been the beneficiary of some things that were groundwork laid out by my predecessor, because he had a good working relationship with across the street at the Capitol, and it's now set this new model for how we should operate as a city. And really anything short of that would be seen as a failure. And what we've seen is because we had such a good working relationship with our state leaders that it has been a tremendous boon to our economy. And they wanted to continue it, and I wanted to continue it. And I can't say that I would have thought to be that collaborative had I not seen that model succeed. Because we have a tendency to draw this line in the sand. Mm-hmm. You're this, I'm that, therefore we can't somehow meet in the middle. And meeting in the middle has gotten us on the top 20 list for Amazon. I mean, we are top 20 finalists for Amazon. It's gotten us so much success with our economy. And I think even when you look at where I am with my transition team, again, collaboration. And that really has been a charge to my new leadership team in the city of Atlanta. How do we cross-collaborate to make sure we're maximizing in all of our areas? So, for example, we've seen a spike in youth violence in the cities, like so many other cities. A lot of it's related to gangs. And so my cabinet meeting a couple of weeks ago, I asked each of the department heads, no matter what your department, write down for me what you can do to help with gang violence in the city. I don't care if you're over public works or the planning department. And also, what can you do to address affordability in the city? So to have my team start thinking about how we collaborate and not just go into our corners and work on what's important to us.
Coming full circle as we close, everybody has a superpower. What's yours?
Discernment. I think that's a gift from God. Discernment. Just and when I paid attention to that sixth sense, it's never led me wrong.
And in closing, you went to an HBCU. You are a black woman in this generation. Not one of us has grown up without the influence of magazines like Ebony. What does Ebony mean to you as Keisha growing up and Keisha now?
Ebony always represented to me what was possible. And the beauty of any number of publications, including Ebony, was that they came once a month. Jet Magazine came once a week, but you had a chance to anticipate. And excuse me. And because it came once a month, there was not the instant gratification. And I think the pressure that goes with the instant gratification of seeing people succeeding. I'm okay. So Ebony thank you. Mm-hmm. Ebony always represented black excellence and what was possible, because it made you think outside of your circumstances, and it made you look to other people and to know that other people were working on your behalf, and they were thinking about you, and they were making decisions about you. And then Ebony brought it to your doorstep. And it's really, for me, it's no different today. We receive it in a different format, but it really is about delivering to people black excellence in a tangible way. That there's still people who are working, who are thinking about you, and there's still an opportunity for us to achieve higher heights. And we're still doing it. And Ebony is still delivering it in a positive way. And it's not watered down, and it's, the angle is what's best about us. And that's something I can appreciate, because we don't always receive that.
As a woman who went to Howard University, you went to FAMU, we see, in entertainment and politics that the legacy of HBCUs are continuing to shine. So I feel an immense sense of pride. And while I don't know you, I'm proud of you. I feel you. I relate to you. Congratulations on everything. So, any final words, anything that you want to leave with us from your heart, soul, and mind?
It's really congratulations to all of us, because this election was about what happens when we care and when we engage. If you look at the demographics in the city of Atlanta, it was very unlikely that we would elect another African American mayor. And the fact that people began to pay attention and that people turned out to vote who historically had not turned out to vote, to me really speaks to what's possible in this country. We saw it in Alabama, and we can see it in election after election after election. And we know what happens when a movement is created. It literally changes the world. And I hope that this small election in Atlanta really speaks to people in a way that moves them to effectuate change wherever they are.
Madam Mayor, we stand behind you all day long. You are our ebony queen and mayor. Congratulations.